Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Open Studio. As always, I'm your host for today's show. My name is Danny Kambo. It is another amazing show for you guys because joining me in studio today is the CEO of the Habitat for Humanity South Africa. That's Mr. Patrick Kulati, if I'm not mistaken. So he's here to speak to us about this special day, World Habitat Day. So for those that's watching us for the first time or watching you for the first time, that's seeing you for the first time, can you just introduce yourself first?
Hi, thank you so much, Danny, for this opportunity.
Yes, yes.
And my name is Patrick Kulati. As you said, I'm the CEO of Habitat for Humanity South Africa.
Yeah.
And Habitat for Humanity South Africa is part of the global Habitat for Humanity International.
Yeah.
And so we are part of that, that group, which has presence in over 90 countries around the world.
Wow.
The main thing that Habitat is doing in the world, our contribution, is that we are calling or working every day so that everybody has access to decent shelter.
Okay.
So our mission is bringing people together, you know, from different backgrounds, different sectors of the economy, government, private sector, people, ordinary people. We bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope.
Wow.
You know, in South Africa, and in fact, in many parts of the world, a lot of people have lost hope about the fact that their lives will ever change. And so as Habitat, we're there to say, no, don't give up yet. When we do this thing together, when we plug into the resources that the government has, that the private sector has, that the people themselves have, because even when people are poor, there's a lot of resources that they have that they can use to turn their situation around. So that's basically what we do as Habitat. And here in South Africa, we're working, we have a presence across the country, but we have offices in 3 provinces.
Oh, wow.
The headquarters are based in Cape Town. That's where I'm based. We also have an office in Johannesburg and in Durban.
Oh, wow.
So we do that.
Wow, so when we speak about Habitat for in South Africa, there is already so many problems and challenges that we're facing in our own country. But then also it is a worldwide movement, you know, tackling the same kind of problem that is being faced in different parts of the world.
Yes.
So United Nations is one of the main people behind us, and they're usually, you know, involved in many projects that's got to do with these kind of topics. So how did they, or when did they decide on this?
Okay.
On this specific initiative?
Okay. You know, the World Habitat Day as a global day was designated in 1985 by the United Nations. The real issue is to reflect on the dire need for housing in the world. It's also about galvanizing and mobilizing people to do something about it. So it's basically reflective and looking back at the issue, at the problem of human settlements. You know, we have a globalizing world. We have a world that is urbanizing as well, where people are moving from rural areas into towns. And when they come to towns or cities, there's not enough space to accommodate all of that. And so you have a big problem. So the World Habitat Day is a day that is designated for every first Monday of October, where people around the world, nations that belong to the United Nations, focus on the issue of housing and human settlement. Because, you see, human settlement or a house provides stability. If you do not have that, if you do not have a house to stay in, you are unsafe, you know, you're unstable, it's a big problem. And so we pause on that day to speak to our governments, to speak to the private sector, to speak to everybody, to say there's a huge problem. And as you said earlier on, it's a problem also in our country. It's not just happening everywhere. But as Habitat, we're there to do something about it. Because it's one thing to identify a problem, to pontificate about it, to mention, to even provide statistics about it. It's another thing to do something about it. So we're here to do that.
Wow. So when you guys tackle these challenges, and you, how do you approach the government? Is it Is it like a presentation, or you're showing them this is what has been planned, or is the government already on board and you're just running with it?
Look, we have been working with government departments for a long time, and they are already on board. But I just need to locate this within this context, that in South Africa we have a backlog of housing. 2.3 million units are needed for people to feel that we have addressed the issue. It's a backlog. You've got people that are staying in informal settlements, people that are staying in backyards, and those people are looking for accommodation. Some of them have been there for decades, for years. And so here in the Western Cape, almost every year we need about 500,000 units of homes to be able to deal with the backlog. And then across the country can only build, let's say, 190,000 units across the country. You can see that it's going to take us years if we just rely on government to do this. So the government is on board, but we are now saying other sectors, other individual people, other organizations, other businesses also have a role to play. You see, as Habitat, we've got an approach that we use. We call it a P4 approach. It's a people, public, private partnership. So it's about bringing all those people together to address this humongous problem. But you see, once you address a housing issue or a human settlement issue, you suddenly address a whole range of other social or socio-economic issues, including homelessness, crime, poverty, and all those kinds of issues. So this is a big entry point. So this week, we as Habitat, we've extended it from just the Habitat Day, World Habitat Day. We're focusing on that whole week to do this in the country.
Wow. So when we look at housing as a whole, it is a big problem. It is a big challenge. And you said it's something that will take us a long time to fulfill, because every year there are people coming onto the list, and we have a list now of people which they call the waiting list, if I'm not mistaken, of people waiting for houses. So how has it been? Have you guys been able to interact with those people that are on the waiting list and tell them, guys, things will change, or are we just waiting on the government? But what we'll do now, we're going to take a short break quickly. Okay, and then when we come back, we're going to just, continue on this conversation. For those that's watching at home, if you are on that waiting list, this conversation might be just for you, so do not go anyway. All right, guys, welcome back. You are watching Open Studio on Cape Town TV. I'm your host for the show. My name is Danny Kambo, and today's conversation is about World Habitat Day. All right, so I've got with me the CEO of World Habitat, of Habitat for Humanity South Africa.
That's right.
The CEO, Mr. Patrick Kulati, if I'm not mistaken. So just to continue our conversation, like we spoke earlier on, we mentioned, like our conversation was going about the housing problem that we currently have in South Africa, and how the organization is coming on board to try and lighten the load on the government. I'm seeking external help. So for those that are currently on that waiting list, waiting for housing, has there been any form of effort, to try and reach out to them and explain to them, this is because this is one of the reasons why people are becoming hostile. This is why crime is increasing. People are becoming angry. So have you guys approached them and said, this is what's happening, things are going to change, or are we waiting for the government to do that?
Look, this area of housing is huge. And there are many people doing various things in that. Government has a responsibility to handle the situation with the people. So we're supporting them in that they're the ones who are communicating and dealing with the people that come to apply for housing subsidies. And but then our role is that of educating, of engaging the public, in order for them to understand that it is not just only the government that has got to work with this problem. It is also other people. It is also the communities themselves. It is also the private sector that can come in and help. So that's our function. We bring all those people together to do that. But we also work with people once they are on that list and they get allocated to be said, they're going to be receiving a house or a subsidy or something like that, we then embark on training them on a number of things, including homeowner rights and responsibilities, because sometimes people do not know that. They do not know the homeowner rights and responsibilities. They do not know how to look after a house. You do it DIY, do it yourself. How do you look after a house? For example, you've got an old makulu who is, who's just moved into a house, and then the door knob breaks down. They do not know what to do. She doesn't know what to do. But if you just train her, and she may not have the money to go and get a handyman or someone else to actually do that work. So if she can do something herself or get a person within the house to do something, so that means that that money that would have gone to someone else is now saved, it's saved. So what we do, we focus on those kinds of interventions to ensure that the people are able to operate. And for those people who are not, well, let's say informal settlements, because we also work in formal settlements, this is where people need to be educated about the whole process of what you need to do to be able to get a house. That is, we have other partners within the NGO sectors that deal with those kinds of things. But from our perspective, we focus on that P4 approach that I was talking about earlier.
So speaking about the P4 approach, you say you bringing these different people together, but you've got a team building work that's going to happen recently. Can you just run us through with that?
Okay. So what's going to happen next week? In fact, this build event that's taking place is team build event or volunteer team build event that's taking place next week. It's part of 4 build events that we do every year. So we've got in April a Desmond Tutu build event, where we're partnering with the Desmond Tutu, who is our patron, and the foundation there to build, and we bring in people to come and build. And then we've got Nelson Mandela build in July. We've got Women's build in August, and then in October we have this World Habitat build. So what happens, which is going to happen next week here in Cape Town in Masphumelele, and in Johannesburg it's going to happen in Palm Ridge, and in KZN, Durban is going to happen in Umkababa. It's an area out there. So what happens during that week is that people come to the site or to the building site. People come from different companies, different backgrounds. They get allocated tasks that they need to do. We appoint and train people we call community crew leaders. These are the people that are going to be looking after the volunteers that come on site. They're going to help them get their food and things like that. But also the people, the volunteers now, they clean up the site, they prepare the site, they bring the bricks, they mix daga or the cement, they help the professional construction company person, the builder, they help them, they bag and clean up once the walls are up, they help lift up the stuff. It's an exciting thing that happens. They do something meaningful, and they often spend time talking to the homeowner or the beneficiary that's going to receive the house. So next week, that's what's going to be happening. So companies and people bring in every day 10, let's say from Cape Town TV crew, you send 10 people a day. They come and do the work from 9 to about 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where they do that work throughout the whole day. And so that's what this whole week is about. And in addition to that, then we send out these messages to the world about drawing this attention to the issue of housing, because it's not just about that build event. It's about saying, yes, you are doing this thing here, you are excited, you are working again, but it's addressing a long-term bigger problem.
So during these events, has there been a house can be built in that one day with so many volunteers coming through?
Well, it's built within a week.
Within a week,
But because of the house can be built from the foundation up until you've got the roof structure, like the trusses and everything like that. But the issue is now that you cannot complete that house completely with the windows, everything, because you've got to have some government inspections done and some some standards met to make sure that that house is safe and so on. So that process takes longer than a week, but the physical structure can go up within a week, and then it's done.
Okay, so the house can be done in a week, then it's just the safety measures that has to take place.
Yeah, the safety measures, the regulatory measures in terms of construction of a house, the approvals and checks and things, the inspections that need to be done.
Wow.
Then it takes a bit.
So the more volunteers we get, the more houses we can build within weeks. But we're gonna take another short break quickly. For those that's watching at home, guys, like we mentioned earlier on, please do stay tuned because this show might just be for you, so do not go anywhere. Hey guys, welcome back. You're watching Open Studio on Cape Town TV. As always, I'm your host for today's show. My name is Danny Campbell. Like we mentioned earlier on, today's conversation is an interesting one because, like we mentioned, it's getting closer to World Habitat Day. And here in studio to speak to us is the CEO of Habitat for Humanity South Africa, Mr. Patrick Kulati. So just to continue our conversation, sir, we spoke about the challenges that we are facing in our country and also in a global platform, which is the housing problem. Okay, we spoke about being on the waiting list, your role, the government's role in creating awareness and educating the communities. So now, before the break, you mentioned that you get a group of volunteers that come in and assist in building a house, so to speak, and creates a hype, excitement, a sense of you've done something, you're proud. So how do you get the community to be empowered to want to jump onto this train and help build a house?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think it's an important question. Habitat has 3 strategic areas of focus. We call them ABC. Okay. Meaning advocacy. A stands for advocacy. B stands for build events, which we now described and talked about. The third one, C, stands for community development, which is where your question falls in. But let me start with the A. The advocacy part comes in when we advocate for changes in policy and systems of government in order to improve the situation of housing in the country. So we advocate through policy inputs, through engagement with government, talking with them, meetings, and to draw attention to particular issues that affect the communities where we're working. And the build events is what we talked about. And these build events I was telling you about, they fall under the B. Then the third element is community development, which is saying when a build event takes place, it's a catalyst, it's an entry point, or an event, a once-off event that takes place during a process that would have started before then, where we engage that community. The engagement part includes our staff going to meet with that community, developing leadership capacity development within those people, running workshops. It includes things like, for example, training of the crew leaders, developing community action plans, and all those kinds of things, training those homeowners before and afterwards. We also have what we call a poverty stoplight tool that we use. That tool basically is used to measure and to track the homeowners or the families move out of poverty. So in other words, they are in an informal settlement before they get a house. They live in a shack. So that's an unsafe area. It's exposed to fires and floods and things like that. But once you have a house, you change the lifestyle of that person. And so we now have to say, how can that person use that structure that they have to further develop their lives and to change their life? For example, one lady in Orange, in Lowell, in Johannesburg, we built with a Nedbank last year in July. But this year, what she decided to do was, because now she has a house that has electricity, doesn't get water, she can now make a business for herself of sewing, the pillows and the bed sheets and things like that. And she brought in other women to do that, and they're selling to the market. So that is the work that we do to develop the community in the long term.
Wow. Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So this is actually a very busy initiative, you know.
Yes.
And it's bringing benefits and after benefits
Exactly.
and blessing up after blessings to people
Exactly.
that are the beneficiaries of this.
Yeah.
So obviously, and I'm saying this, I must be sure that you are proud of this. That
Yes,
with so
definitely.
much work that's being done in the background, and so much. You can see the benefits. It's tangible. You know, it's a house. You can see these benefits. Has there been recognition? You know, any type of achievement, any type of awards that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, yes, definitely. In 2017,
Yeah.
there was an award, a volunteer experience award, best volunteer experience for the workers of Old Mutual.
Okay.
Yeah, Old Mutual, you know, organized this event, a big event, and then Habitat won that event as the place where the workers and the people that have the volunteers had said it was a life-changing experience for them when they came out to build on site. That was that. We also had a recent one in 2018 where we won a Governor Beke Award for a best housing program in KwaZulu-Natal. Then KwaZulu-Natal, I mentioned the name of Mkababa.
Yeah.
We are rolling out a 1,000-unit of housing project in a place called Mkababa. We're partnering with the Department of Human Settlements in that province under a government program which is called Enhanced Public Housing Program. So what we then did was to make sure that the people participate in the planning and in the design, and they are trained and so on. And because of the work that we did and employing people to actually do the work in the community, the government then recognized that thing. So there are many other awards that we've won, but
Those
those
two
are
the big ones that stood out for you.
those are the ones that stand out
So
for me.
just briefly for those that's watching at home now, and would like to know more about Habitat for Humanity in South Africa.
Yes.
Is there any contact information, your website, your social media platforms? Yeah.
Yes. What I'll do, I'll just give you the website
Okay.
address so that when people get in there, they can actually get access to our social media. It's www. .habitat.org.za.
Yeah.
www.habitat.org.za.
Okay. www.habitat.org.za.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you go into that,
Once you get into that, then you'll be able to see our Instagram, our social media, Twitter, and Facebook, and other platforms that we have. Yeah.
So very briefly, before we end off on the show, what has your experience been like in this time that you've been working?
Man, it's been a wonderful, great experience. I mean, the one thing for me that is standing is to meet with the people.
Yeah.
In fact, in July on the 17th, I was down in KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, where I met this old gogo.
Yeah.
You know, she had been waiting for her house. I mean, she's 85.
Yeah.
Waiting for her house since she was born.
Yeah.
And so when we were there, we had these people coming from all over the world coming to build her house. She had never seen people coming to serve her. She's always been out working for other people. People are coming to work and building. So as the bricks went up, her joy started to spill over, and she started bursting into into tears.
Yeah.
In fact, she started bringing in people. I mean, there was the problem of water. She went to her neighbors to bring water on her head so that people can work. And, you know, she started preparing lunch. We had to tell her, but Gogo, we already have lunch sorted out. She started preparing lunch for these people. And you could see when I spoke to her, the joy in her face, the tears in her eyes, and the ululation in her voice, meaning that this is a fulfillment of long-held dreams.
Yeah.
So what Habitat does and its partners is to facilitate that kind of experience. There's nothing as profound as to see a person's lives change right in front of your eyes.
Wow, and that's a good way to put it. So unfortunately, guys, we've come to the end of the show. I thank you so much, sir, for coming in and speaking to us today. Thank you guys for tuning in and for watching today's show. So my name is Danny Kamba. For now, guys, I'm going to sign up, but don't forget to check out that website and get all the information you need. So till next time, guys, bye-bye. you so much.
Pleasure, man. Thank you.